It's time now to clear the air. And perhaps one of the greatest ironies of this coming presidential election is that it won't be Mitt Romney, the person, who ultimately influences the outcome. It'll be his policies as they've been applied in Europe that could sink the president. Take a look at this map of Europe. 8 of the Eurozone nations are currently back in recession. Spain, Belgium, Ireland, Italy, the Netherlands, Portugal, Slovenia, and of course Greece. And then there are a further 3 nations who don't use the single European currency but are also back in recession: Britain, Denmark and the Czech Republic. Virtually every single one of these countries reacted to the recession by applying the fundamental principles of Mitt Romney and Congressman Paul Ryan's budget. That is, stop spending, start cutting. And this continues to be Mitt Romney's campaign slogan.
If I'm president, I will cut spending.
Cut spending.
I will cut programs. I will eliminate programs. I'll cut federal spending.
Cut federal spending.
He wants to add more to government. He wants another stimulus. He wants to hire more government workers. He says we need more firemen, more policemen, more teachers. Did he not get the message of Wisconsin? The American people did. It's time for us to cut back on government.
It's almost incredible to hear this talk, given what's been happening in front of our eyes in Europe, as their leaders lit a wildfire of austerity that has incinerated their economies. There is now a very real anxiety that that fire could spread here to the United States. And unlike the short-sighted Mitt Romney, who thinks only of his own ambitions, the president is acutely aware of how Europe could affect us.
Over the longer term, even as European countries with large debt burdens carry out necessary fiscal reforms, they've also got to promote economic growth and job creation. As some countries have discovered, it's a lot harder to rein in deficits and debt if your economy isn't growing.
And that's why he's pushing for a very different approach.
I sent Congress a detailed jobs plan full of the kind of bipartisan ideas that would have put more Americans back to work. It had broad support from the American people. It was fully paid for. If Congress had passed it in full, we'd be on track to have 1 million more Americans working this year.
This is the essential contrast between these two men. Romney wants to emulate European policies that have brought that continent to its knees. The president wants to chart a very different course in order to rebuild this nation's economy. The tragedy for him is that even with the best of intentions, he hasn't been allowed to implement his policies. But Mitt Romney's approach is there in Europe for all to see. Perhaps he did learn something while hiding out in Paris at the height of the Vietnam War.